Everything that was became what is, and what withers and dies is but alike the larva in its cocoon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of our Corona Talk. And it's a huge pleasure and honestly also an honor to me to have a wonderful and illustrious guest here with us today. It's none less than Arne Stainthorpe from the British doom metal institution, My Dying Bride.
Hello.
So, thank you so much for taking your time, Arne.
My pleasure.
Well, to start off, how are you?
I'm really good, actually. I'm keeping very, very busy. I have an 8-year-old daughter who, of course, isn't at school. And so each morning she wakes me up with her English book, and it's a cup of tea. And then we sit down and we do English, math, geography, science, art. Then we go for a walk, exercises. Then it's lunchtime, and I'm teaching her how to cook as well as riding her bike. And then the afternoon is a little bit more relaxed. It's less academic in the afternoon and a bit more sort of playtime or watch a film or something like that. But then it's time to cook the evening meal. Then by the time I'm putting her to bed, I am really, really tired, because I was kind of thinking with lockdown, I will have loads of time to catch up on some of my writing, and correspondence with other people around the world, because I'd have all this free time. But it's completely the opposite. I'm so busy now because of my little girl. She's keeping me on my toes all the time. Because, of course, when she was at school, I would drop her off at 8:45 in the morning. I would arrive home at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I would have the whole of the day till 3 p.m. to do what I like. Mostly play on the Xbox, obviously. No, not really. But now all that time is gone. So I am really super busy, and I do feel for other people, particularly bands who tour a lot. For them, this must be an agonizing time for them. They must be crawling up the walls at the moment because they're so used to touring, doing 100, 200 shows a year. And for a lot of bands, that's their sole income. Their only finance is coming from being on the road, along with record sales, of course. And they are taking a really big hit at the moment with that. Not so My Dying Bride. We haven't played a live show in 3 years, so there's no change for us. We're not feeling it at all. We did have some summer festivals planned, only about 5 or 6. Because we'd been away so long, we didn't want to return very rapidly and do loads of shows. We thought we'd pick a couple of interesting festivals and do those and reintroduce My Dying Bride back to the live circuit. And even those have been taken from us as well now. But as I say, we haven't played live for 3 years, so it's not affecting My Dying Bride as much as it is some of our fellow musicians. For them, this is an awful, awful time. For us, and for me particular, I kind of don't mind it at all at the moment.
That's good to hear, actually. But I totally feel you, actually. I mean, band-wise, we are one of those bands who really tour a lot, usually around 150 shows a year or something like that.
Wow.
And it is our sole income. And I mean, right now we are settled as kind of a company pretty smartly. So right now we can still survive, and we're good and all that. But looking into the future, it's somewhat scary at some times, and it's definitely hard on us as a band financially. And obviously we miss touring and all that. But if I'm really, really honest, so far I really enjoyed it a lot. I mean, we just started working on a new album, like in the sense of gathering ideas and stuff. But other than that, I just enjoy the free time that I have now to, to fix things on the house that he wanted to fix since ages and all that, So in that sense, even though we're usually on the road all fucking time, I'm actually kind of enjoying it, I have to admit. But yeah, the other thing I also totally feel with you, we also have like 2 kids, and obviously we're homeschooling, and the first few weeks it was actually perfectly fine because they were still motivated and everything. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know where you're going.
But after weeks, with basically locked in at home, and after weeks without being able to see their friends from school and everything, like they are getting serious cabin fever, and and it's not only the homeschooling turns out to be a challenge, but also just simply getting them in a positive mood.
Yeah, you're right. My daughter, she really enjoys the whole academic side of things. She likes to understand words and where commas belong, where full stop should go, when do we use capital letters. She soaks up that information.
Okay, cool.
She's really good at mathematics, and she loves a challenge, and because she knows that all these numbers will come together and there's only one possible answer. So she actually prefers maths because there's only one answer. Whereas English, there can be several answers to a certain question. So academically, she loves it, and we bought a globe so we can show her where all the countries in the world are, and she absolutely she loves all that information. But I know what you mean. She's happy to learn, but she's not with her friends running around. There's a certain different kind of happiness that she's missing. She's missing that, and you can see, like you said at the beginning, it was quite exciting having Daddy as a teacher. Now she is bored out of her mind of me. And even though, she quite likes working out the sums and the English and the geography, when that's coming to an end, her eyes are rolling in her head and she's thinking, what are we doing this afternoon, Daddy? It's going to be some horrible thing with you again, hide and seek maybe, which was fun to begin with. But now she's getting tired of me. But it looks like there may be a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Certainly our government has, they made a statement on Sunday saying you are now allowed to travel further. You weren't allowed to travel more than a few miles from your house previously. Now you're allowed to travel as far as you like, and you can go to public places, but remain socially distant from other people. And there's talk of schools perhaps introducing the 6th form and the 1st form back to school first in a few months' time. But mine's in the 3rd form, so I don't know when she'll be going back. But the sooner the better.
It's
I remember this.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. What was it in Belgium or what?
Mexico.
But Mexico?
Yeah.
Oh no! Now I messed it up with that show in Belgium where we kind of swapped slots because there was something wrong with your flight or something like that.
Possibly.
Right. That was Mexico. Jesus Christ! How long is that ago?
Can you see the date?
It's like Jesus Christ! Yes.
2012. 8 years ago.
Oh my God.
That was great. That was great.
Yes.
We'd never done the 70,000 tons thing before, and so we did obviously Mexico with you guys and Moon Sorrow, and then flew back to Florida, and then got on the biggest ship I've ever seen in my entire life, and it was just, it's such a surreal festival. I think it was wonderful. At first, I was thinking, how does the somber tones of My Dying Bride work on a cruise ship in the Caribbean? But I think it works fantastically well. I thought it was a great festival. Quite well, it's not so unique anymore. I thought that was unique, but apparently there are more than one floating festivals around the world.
Meanwhile, there are, yeah, I think.
Yeah, so but that was great. We did that one in 2012, and then we did 2016, and we were hoping to do 2020, having a 4-year gap between each show. But unfortunately, because we took so much time off because my daughter was so sick, we just didn't. We weren't able to get into gear in time for the beginning of this year, which is a shame. But it looks like we might be penciled in for next year. So back on board.
Back on board. Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope for that. I really hope that next year everything will go back to normal step by step. Really.
Yeah, we've still got some shows penciled in for this year. Late summertime, but I'm not so sure, even though they are confirmed as still going ahead, I'm not sure actually will, because putting a show on at the end of summer, the work to do that must begin now.
Right.
But nobody can be doing that work now. So I'm not sure how some of the later summer festivals are still going to go ahead. We have one show in Athens in Greece booked for November. There's a chance that might still happen, but I'm not sure. Nobody knows. We'll just have to.
Yeah, exactly.
That could be our one and only show of 2020. Or if that doesn't happen, then it looks like the cruise ship could well be our very first show in 3.5, nearly 4 years. So that's quite a baptism. I've just been watching with my daughter. I told her that I was chatting with you, and of course she's like, "Who's he?" So I put the Call of the Mountains on the video, and she did not utter a single word while watching the whole video. And she was hooked, and she really likes it. And we love the scenery as well. Where was that filmed?
Where was that? That was in eastern southern Germany somewhere, I think.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Very, very nice.
Yeah, it was quite nice, definitely.
Yeah, we've never done a video. We've never done a video where we've taken our instruments outside. I think mostly because we're too lazy. Because I don't know, we're not very rock and roll, My Dying Bride. And the thought of us standing in the woods or on a hill with all our equipment just makes us feel a bit strange. But it looks great when other people do it.
Yeah.
We just think it feels a bit silly us doing it. So we've never done it.
Absolutely same here, to be honest. I mean, we did it a few times, but it, come on, you're not playing the guitars in the middle of the fucking woods. But I mean, it's completely retarded, actually.
Yeah, I did say to my daughter, I said, "Where do you think they plugged those guitars in?"
Yeah.
That must be a very long lead. Yeah, very long lead. No, so I told her about the whole thing about miming, because she's obviously doesn't understand what miming is, and when you're trying to tell a kid that we're not really making those noises, they're put on afterwards. And it just baffles them, because they think, well, why don't you just make the noise there while the camera's pointing at you? And it's like, it doesn't work like that, darling. You'll understand it when you grow up. And she's becoming quite cynical now, because I've taught her how to use Photoshop. And I've shown her how many images you look at in magazines and even on television have been Photoshopped. So they're not necessarily as they may appear. So when we see certain things on TV now, if it looks either too beautiful or too dramatic or too amazing, she'll look across and say, "Is that Photoshopped?" And I'll be like, "Probably, it might be, yes, I don't know." So I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing as a father here, but
I think you're doing great. This is awesome. Hey, but I wanted to ask you before that, how old is your daughter actually?
She's 8 now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. She was diagnosed with cancer when she was 5.
Yeah, I read about all that.
Yeah, and that was a terrible time. But
I believe you. Must have been.
Now, yeah, she's great. Her hair's about this long now, because obviously she was bald for 2 years. But yeah, she's doing great. As I say, she's starting to learn how to ride a bike now, and she was in a wheelchair for a year as well. And it's amazing the transformation from where she was back then to where she is now, it's just incredible. So proud of her. So, you know, it's kind of, you know, we laugh at coronavirus. She's beat cancer.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I read about, you know, all that, the statements you gave, and I watched some interviews, and I don't think anyone who did not go through such a situation can even halfway understand or feel what it must be like. It's just crazy. Must have been terrible.
Yeah. The thing is, there's no escape. You know, it's not like, you know, you hate your job. So if you hate your job, you can just quit. When you're faced with something like this, there's no quit. There's no eject. There's no exit.
No, even a break or nothing.
No, yeah. You just get on with it, and it's 24/7. You know, the hours of the day and night don't mean anything anymore, because she needed so much care all the time that it was just, we were eating breakfast at 3 a.m. You know, you're cooking a full meal at 10 a.m. because your body is just completely out of sync. And it was tough. You know, it was the hardest thing we've ever had to do. But you can't. People say, I don't know how you managed, but there's no alternative. You stand up and you kind of mentally say, bring it on, and we'll deal with it. And each step of the way, you're hoping that positive things come with every day. And it was the toughest thing we've done, but it's made us stronger people, better people, and more positive thinking as well. For my Dying Bride fans, unfortunately, I'm not as miserable as I used to be, because I've seen great positivity come out of a very dark place. And so that's given me a bit more of a positive outlook in life as well. Previous to this, you know, I would complain at, I don't know, the battery on my phone going, and I would be like, fucking hell, you know, the internet's gone down, and I'd be swearing and screaming and shouting, just complaining about stupid things. Since we've been through this experience, those things are trivia, absolute trivia. I'm more of a mellow person now. If the battery goes on my phone, I just smile and I plug it back in again. I don't complain, I don't scream and shout, I drive much more sensibly. I'm just a much calmer person, because those things aren't worth worrying about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally believe you. I'm really glad that I so far didn't have to experience something like that, but I absolutely believe you that it can do, or that it did good to you. And that's also something that I think, you know, you can also somehow be proud on yourself, because I think every crisis that you have to go through can be also a kind of a blessing in disguise, but you need to use it as a chance, you know. It's always your decision how you want to deal with it, and obviously you dealt very, very well with it, and this is amazing.
Well, thank you, but I don't want to do it again. As well as we got through that, you know, it was terrible, and you know, we're still in touch with a lot of the people who, mm-hmm. some of them are still in hospital, and it's a shame. You know, we know one little girl. She's just turned 5 years old. She spent 3 years in hospital.
Yes.
So you know, we're keeping our fingers crossed that those guys are going to be okay. You just don't know. You know, you can't say to these people, it will be fine, because
of course not.
That's not the right thing to say. You've got to be very, very careful about how you speak to them, and we just try and be positive with them, and we try and joke about things, you know, and we wish them all the best. And you know, before lockdown happened, these guys spent 110 days in hospital, all on the trot with no break. And that's just one hospital, one room. And so when I hear people complaining about lockdown, and they've got TV, Netflix, kitchen, takeaway food, pizza, you know, and I just think, and they're still complaining. And I think, You have got nothing to complain about. You do not know what life has for other people who are just going through some terrible times. So stop complaining with your pizza face.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Is that picture of me very bright? It looks very, very bright.
Yeah, I just actually noticed it myself. Yeah.
I'll close the curtains. It's such a sunny day here. Is that a bit better?
Oh yeah. It changed over the last 10 minutes or something like that, I think.
It's getting hotter. It's getting hotter and hotter here. Oh. You wouldn't think it. We live in West Yorkshire, which is it's quite high up. You know, we're classed as northerners, not compared to many of our Scandinavian fellows. And normally it will rain from kind of October to May, okay. With some snow as well. We've had almost no rain and weeks and weeks and weeks of blazing sunshine, and I like that. I mean, I like all weather. Weather doesn't bother me in the way it seems to bother a lot of other people. I go out for walks no matter what the weather. The weather seems to put a lot of people off. They won't go if it's too windy or too rainy, and it has no effect on me. I use the surrounding countryside, which is beautiful around here, as inspiration for my lyrics and for the poetry that I write. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be writing about that tree or
of course.
hill.
Yeah, of course.
Just being within the realms of nature changes your perception and changes your mood. For me, always for the better. I don't mind people, but I prefer nature to people. So I always go out and I take a pen and a book. And if there's nothing there, fine. I don't write every time I go out, but more often than not, even if it's raining, you'll find some cover somewhere and just feel inspired to write something down, even if it's just one line, which may in the future become the seed of another song, which may grow from that single walk that you did through a muddy field and you stood under an oak tree that's 500 years old and you just wrote one line, and a song unrelated to those incidents could take you on a completely different train. It could become a song for my dying bride. It could become one of the poems or the short stories that I write. But I'm lucky living in this part of the world. I can walk out of my door and within 5 minutes of walking, it's absolutely beautiful. And the weather's been amazing. I'm a little bit redder than I should be. I do wear a hat and I wear glasses if I really need to, which I'm not used to wearing. But you know, I don't have as much hair as I used to have, so I do need to protect the top of my head. That's fine. You know,
I'm familiar with that concept, as you can see.
But it's fine. You know, I mean, I first shaved my head when my daughter was a baby. She used to pull my hair and eat it. She'd pull it out and eat it, and I was thinking that, all right, that we need, just for the hell of it, I'll shave my head. And of course, everyone's like, "What? You can't shave your head?" I thought, yes, I can, and I'm going to. So I went to one of these really cool barber shops where everyone's really cool, man. And I felt completely out of place. I walked in and I took a seat, and all these guys are constantly high-fiving each other. You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. And then it was my turn, and I sat in this seat, and they're like, "Yo, man, how's it going?" I'm thinking, "You're from Yorkshire. Stop talking like that." and then, you know, he's kind of ruffling my hair like this, thinking I might want to trim. I said, "Just shave it all off." And you should have seen him. He suddenly became the most camp person I'd ever seen. And he just shouted, "Everybody stop. Listen to me. This guy's shaving his entire head off." And everybody was clapping and applauding. And I'm thinking, just fucking shave it off. What are you doing? What's this? Me shaving my head had become theatre and pantomime. So, you know, I said, just get in there. So he started with the scissors, and then the shearing thing came out. And I asked for a number 2. And when he'd finished, I looked in the mirror and I wasn't shocked at all. But I thought a number 2 was too long. So I said, get it right down as low as you can go. And again, he's like that. Everybody stop!
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. And they're all applauding like this. Oh man, go, go, go. And I'm thinking, fuck,
why?
Never coming here again. So he took the thing off and he shaved it right down. And I thought, yeah, that's fine. And I asked him, what's the best tool to maintain this myself? I see you've got a pretty nifty pair of clippers there. These were chrome, big, heavy industrial clippers. He unplugged them and he gave them to me. These must have been, these are proper expensive. They're not plastic stuff you buy in the store. This is real industry standard. And he gave it to me. And I thought, wow, now is not the time to reach into my pocket and go for the half price voucher. So I said, wow, thank you very much. This is amazing. So I walked out with no hair and some fancy new clippers. And I never looked back. Everybody, my family said, oh, it actually suits you. It looks like you should have done this years ago. And when I saw the rest of the band, we were arranging a night out in a bar. And obviously I told them I was getting my head shaved. I don't think they believed me. And then when I showed up, again, there was no big shock. There was no big intake of breath. And there was no negative, oh, what a maniac. Why have you done this? Everybody just nodded and as if it was like, that's the right thing to do. You did the right thing. And I've never looked back, and I'm quite happy. I've still got those clippers and I shave it every now and again. And, I don't mind. And yeah, I'm getting a bit fuzzy around the old face at the moment. I've decided not to shave my face during the whole of lockdown. So we'll see how big the beard gets. I mean, it's all down my neck and it's all up here. I love it.
It gets itchy for sure.
Yeah, I have to trim it around my lips, obviously, because when you eat and drink, you don't want it all hanging off your top lip. But yeah. So I need to protect myself in the sun, and the weather's been unprecedented at this time, and it's probably helping with lockdown because if people are lucky enough to have a garden like we are, you just chill out in the garden with a beer. It's easy. Lockdown is easy. Our grandparents were in the war. People were shooting at them, bombing them, and they weren't complaining. Some people are complaining that they have to drink beer in their garden. And what are you talking about, you maniacs? So I think we've got it lucky and we really should stop complaining.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, as you said before, obviously for some bands and musicians, it is super tough.
Yeah.
Not on a personal level, but mainly on a financial one. But other than that, especially the lockdown situation, it's, same here. I mean, we also live in the countryside and there's still a lot of people around complaining their asses off. And I absolutely, I don't get that because there's always other people, thinking of the big cities, thinking of these social apartments, where maybe families with 4 kids live in 2 rooms or something like that with no balcony and stuff like that. And you're living in the countryside and you want to complain seriously? Yeah. So that's not working. But yeah.
So what's your plan after lockdown? You're hoping to get on the road still at the end of the year, maybe?
I mean, obviously we still do have some shows lined up, but as you said before, no one knows what's going to happen. We simply do not know. So I mean, honestly, I'm not even thinking about it too much. I mean, there's no point in thinking and brooding over it all the fucking time. You won't know, and we will learn what's going to happen early enough. So, and then until then, I just take things from day to day, and do the things that I need to do, and enjoy doing the things that I should have done like ages ago, like fixing stuff on the house.
Yeah, there's probably more houses being fixed now than ever in the whole history of mankind.
Yes.
I'm terrible. I'm terrible at fixing. See, I'm not great with my hands, but everything you need to know is on a YouTube video.
You're right.
So I've been learning how to fix things. I'll spend an hour on YouTube first, then I can fix anything, and it's actually quite good. And you just get on Amazon, you can have all the tools delivered, all the pieces you need. They arrive just a couple of days later, and you can crack on with loads of stuff. Our house has never looked better.
Yeah, but honestly, it's a bit the same here, and I'm also enjoying a lot these YouTube tutorials. I did stuff so far I never thought I could. Like I built in like new toilets and I built up walls and all kinds of shit that I never thought I would ever do, but now I did, and it's good.
Yeah, the house is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes. So no, that's actually cool.
Enjoying cooking a lot as well at the moment because of my daughter's condition. She is classed as a severe risk of catching corona. So we are not even allowed to go to the stores. So we are, thankfully, we have a front garden and a back garden and the countryside just there. So we can get out a little bit, but we can't go shopping. We can't get groceries and things like that. So thankfully, I have two sisters, and Neil is our new guitar player. Neil only lives about 5 miles away. Oh. So he goes shopping for us as well. So we send all these lists. It happens to be beer on nearly every list. I don't realise how much beer I bought until I'm asking other people to buy it for me. So I need to cool down with the beer a little bit. But it just means, we're cooking lots and lots now and trying different things, because when I normally go to the store, I know exactly what I want and the exact ingredients that I need to make certain dishes. But I can't write all that down for someone who's helping us out. So I just keep the list quite basic and fairly simple. But it means I'm short of many of the ingredients I need to create some of the dishes that I really like. So they're a bit crazy, and they're a bit more relaxed when it comes to the correct ingredients, but that's fine. We're inventing new meals. And
exactly, it just makes you more creative.
Yeah, of course it does. And I've been in touch. Well, in fact, there's a guy called Bruce Moore who does this thing called Brutally Delicious, and it's like a rock and roll like podcast, but not podcast. It's a YouTube thing. And he's asked me if I'd like to take part, and I think I'm going to do it. So I need to set up a camera in my kitchen and come up with some kind of dish and cook it. And I've seen some of his other brutally delicious things, and they're great. It's great to see.
This is awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see band members messing around in the kitchen, because you don't normally see that. And I think, particularly this time, because of what we're going through at the moment, seeing your favorite band out of their comfort zone and doing something a little bit different, it's very entertaining. So I think I'm going to have a go at it. I'm not sure what I'm going to cook yet, but I love cooking, so it's not going to be a challenge. I must have 100 knives, chopping boards piled high. I've got knife skills, and I know how to cook just about everything. It's just picking something that you can't do, something too complicated, because you're hoping other people might be able to follow it. So I'm looking forward to doing that. The problem is, when I cook, I quite often dance and sing. So I'm going to have to try and not do that, or maybe do it. I don't know.
Why not?
Yeah, just sing and dance and whistle around the kitchen. And so maybe I'll do that. I think perhaps I'll do that next week, because I promised him I would do.
This is amazing, but. Well, it's brutally delicious.
Brutally delicious, yeah.
Okay. And you'll find out on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I have heard of it, but I've never watched it.
Yeah.
I need to check it out. This is cool.
Yeah, you can do it as well. Just I say just set up a camera. I tried it the other day, but we've got so many windows around our cooker, and it's been so sunny that as soon as you turn the camera on, everything is pure white. It's so bleached out. I need to do it at nighttime, but because I'm so tired at nighttime, I haven't been able to do it. But I will. I must get something done because I promised him probably a month ago. So I really need to pull my finger out. I'm quite looking forward to it.
I believe you. It sounds very, very cool. I will check this thing out right afterwards. This is cool.
Yeah, do it.
That's like one of the little positive outcomes of the whole crisis. I think that everybody's coming up with like, creative or funny or whatever stuff, to give people something instead of shows and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going to do. I mean, I'm not a musician, so I'm limited to what I can do to entertain people. But I thought I might read some of my Dying Bride's more obscure lyrics and explain my thoughts behind them, because over the years the fans have come up with their own interpretation of some of the more abstract
obviously
lyrics. Yes, lyrics that have a more defined narrative are easy to understand because it's a story. There's a start, a middle and an end, and it's all a nicely wrapped package. But some of the more obscure songs, I've never told people my thoughts behind them. So I thought I might do something like that. But again, I wanted the lighting to be nice. I wanted the voice to be nice, because I thought I might get one of these little clip-on microphones, but I don't know how that works with a computer. So I started to overthink it. And really, you just sit there and talk. It's not that difficult. I just wanted it to be a bit nicer. So I might do something like that. And I've got some unused lyrics that I think people might be interested in, and some of the poetry that I've written, some people might be interested in. So I might try something like that. You never know. I might get 4 or 5 views.
I'm sure not, but it sounds amazing. Honestly, it sounds like something I would like to watch. To be honest,
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So what are you doing tonight?
I will cook and then sit on our bench, well, where I'm sitting right now, and drink a couple of glasses of wine, and then we'll go to bed. Pretty much the same like we do every night.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about lockdown. We don't feel any change when the weekend arrives. It just feels like another day. In the past, you obviously have Monday to Friday has a certain feeling, and the weekend has a separate feeling. Now every single day is the same. So we're kind of missing our weekends, even though really every day is like a weekend. So, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying the week has changed. The structure of the week has changed now. I used to really look forward to it. Friday night was always a good one because obviously you've got 5 days of work behind you. It's time to relax. You can have a few more beers than you would normally have, and it's great. And that's not there anymore because it's just blended into all the other days. So I'm kind of missing the whole weekend thing, but it's not going to last. I don't know when it's going to end. We're just looking forward to 2021 now. I think most people are. Most of the festivals have simply changed the date from 2020 to 2021.
Yeah, that's pretty much happening more and more now.
Most of the bands who are doing it can still do it because no one's really planned that far ahead. So it looks like next year is probably going to be one of our busiest ever years because, for us, a busy year is about 12 or 13 gigs. That's how very few shows we do in a whole year. But everything from this year is going to be carried over to next year, plus next year's gigs as well. So I think next year that'll be a mighty touring year for us. We might reach 20 shows next year.
But yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask you about. I mean, you literally just released an album.
Yeah.
And so what's going on with that? I mean, you don't have the chance to promote it live on stage, obviously.
Yeah.
How does it work for you guys? What are you doing, and what are your plans? Are there plans for next year, or like what's going on with Ghost of Orion?
I think we were lucky because we released it before any kind of lockdown happened. So the album came out, people were able to go to the shops to buy it. Most things, I think I believe most people will buy online anyway.
I guess.
Not necessarily a digital download, you know, the vinyl and the CD. But when it came out, I think it was March the 6th, everything was still open. You could still go anywhere you wanted. Myself and Andrew went down to London, and we did 2 days of full-on press interviews. You know, I have actually been doing interviews, Skype and email interviews and telephone interviews since January the 3rd, nearly every day. So, you know, I've been doing a lot of promotional work for it. I don't know how this lockdown will affect bands who are releasing albums during lockdown. I don't know. I still think people buy online, so I'm not sure.
I think you can, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to affect things greatly. But we were lucky. We got in just in time before everything stopped. But yeah, I'm still doing interviews, and people are still showing up on social media saying, I've just bought the album, I love it, it's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. And that's all wonderful. So there hasn't really been a slowdown. We're still getting a lot of feedback from the album, which is wonderful. And we're already, people are asking what's next. And when we wrote and recorded the album, we actually recorded 11 pieces of music. 8 of them went to the album. The other 3 are for an EP that's coming out later on in the year. Yeah, it would have been nice to have done some shows to help promote that, but it is what it is. But so people who liked The Ghost of Orion, there are 3 more songs coming, but recorded at the same time. So the production is the same. And of course, we couldn't decide which songs to put on the EP, so we just left it to Nuclear Blast. We picked song number 1 because I knew what I wanted the album to begin with, and I knew how the album was going to end, and I knew that in the middle of all this darkness, there needed to be Lindy Faye Heller. So she's right in the middle of the whole album, as a kind of like a stepping stone in amongst all this dark water. So apart from those 3 tracks, we let Nuclear Blast pick the 3 they thought would make for a good EP, because I would pick some, and then Andrew would pick some, and then we'd argue about it, and it would be like, no, but this one needs to be included for this reason, and then he would argue, no, for another reason, this song needs to be. So we just let Nuclear Blast do it. So they picked. Yeah, it's fine.
Quite pragmatic.
Yeah, well, we love all the songs, so we didn't matter which were on there. We just let them do it because it cuts out a lot of the arguing. So that there's no release date for it yet. It's just sometime after summer, I guess.
But still this year, right?
Well, I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how this virus and lockdown is going to affect scheduling for record labels. I don't imagine how it would affect it too much, you know, because they're still releasing things, you know. It doesn't stop you releasing something. So I'm hoping that there's a window of opportunity to release it August, September, October, somewhere around that kind of period. And hopefully we'll see some movement in returning back to normal around that sort of time. But yeah, we're trying to keep busy. It's difficult though, because we thought about doing a gig where we would hire a venue and obviously stay apart from each other, and try and do some sort of concert for people. But it's just the logistics of it were a nightmare. Obviously you need to hire the lights, the sound, all the equipment, and you need more than one camera. You need several cameras, and you need people to operate the cameras, and they need to go into a big editing booth so people can edit the shots on the fly while you're playing live. And it just became an absolute nightmare. So we chose not to do it. It's just, I know some people are doing it. Catatonia have done one recently.
Really?
Yeah, but it must have been a fucking nightmare. I don't know how it worked, but because we don't have a manager. We've never had a manager, so we have to do all the work ourselves. Whereas we know who Catatonia's manager is because he lives just around the corner from me. and he works really, really hard, Andy Farrow. And so
I know him,
he will have ensured that everything went professionally. We don't have a manager, so me and Andrew would have to do it all, and we couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, but I totally understand that. I mean, we have been thinking about exactly that as well, and yeah, we basically stopped thinking about it because it would just not been handled for us, and also financially, like it would be, it's crazy, all the things you need to provide to do that. But plus, then, like, kind of while we were thinking and talking about this, the closing of the borders came, and then, well, it was done for us anyway because we live in different countries. So that there was no way we could do it anymore. But even if the borders still would have been open, like I don't think we could manage. It's so yeah, just crazy and crazy expensive as well. All the things you need to properly do it, if you want to do it properly, it's just no way.
Yeah, it's too expensive. I mean, you've got a lot more instruments than we have as well. It would be because you need someone to mic all this stuff up as well. You don't realize how hard a crew really, really works, and it's only when you try something all by yourself and you realize I can't do this without these guys, and these guys aren't allowed anywhere near us. So it was a good idea. It's just we can't do it. So people are just going to have to wait, I'm afraid.
I guess so.
Where are you at the moment? Where do you live?
Like in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's like we live in a small village. We have like around 300 people.
Okay.
And a lot more horses and dogs than humans around here. That's actually we have like 3 horses ourselves, and so it's actually quite calm and nice and quiet here.
Yeah, it sounds lovely. It sounds really nice. And where are the rest of the guys then?
All over the place. Like we have one guy from northern Italy. We have someone from Poland, actually. Our hurdy-gurdy player lives in Poland. Another guy lives around Munich somewhere in Germany. And well, a few of us, or the rest of us, are spread all over Switzerland. So normally that's not a problem. I mean, we don't like rehearse in that classic sense of like we have a band rehearsal like once a week or something like that. And if we have shows or tours, everybody needs to fly in anyway. Like also a crew are like from all over the place, like whatever, Hungary or England or Germany or whatever. So yeah, everybody needs to fly in anyway. So that doesn't really matter where you live in that sense.
Okay.
But obviously, once the borders are closed, that kind of set up some difficulties there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're not far from each other, but the rehearsal room's closed anyway. So even if we wanted to rehearse, there's nowhere to do it. So we're just not bothering. And as I mentioned before, because my daughter's kind of a severe risk of catching anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not in any hurry to get back to civilization. I don't mind isolation, as we call it. It's not really isolation, but you know what I mean. I can tolerate this. I can tolerate this. I'm not sure my daughter can tolerate it, but I don't mind, because she had 2 major operations and she's lost some internal organs, one of them being her spleen. So she will be on medication for the rest of her life, which is fine. So we need to keep her apart anyway. So even if the schools slowly start going back, I don't imagine that my daughter will be going back until September when the schools return proper. So, some people are trying to get their kids back before the summer holidays, but it's simply not going to happen for us. It will be September before she goes back. But at least when the summer holidays begin, I don't have to get up in the morning and do maths, English and geography. Even though she loves it, I'll just tell her, you know what, we all need a break during summertime, so get out of my room.
Yeah. I know the feeling.
Yeah. It's great, you know. Obviously, I've bumped into you a couple of times in the past, but I'm a bit guilty of being a bit quiet, which makes me seem a bit antisocial. I'm not very good in social situations with people I've never met before. So now that I've had this correspondence with you, next time I meet you, it'll be all hugs and kisses. But when I meet other bands for the first time, I just kind of nod, you know, and kind of wander off a bit because I don't know what to say, because I'm just not. I'm not down with the kids, you know. I don't know. I don't have a mammoth encyclopedic mind, and I don't know every album every band has ever released. So when I meet a band, I don't know. I don't want to talk about the weather like typical English people do, like I have done here. So you know, it's only after tours that I get to know people. We did a great tour with Oceans of Slumber, and I hardly spoke to them for the whole tour. Not because I'm some kind of arrogant rock star who thinks he's above everybody else. It's because I'm terrified. I don't know what to say, and I'm fearful that I may trip over my own words and say wrong or awkward things. So to avoid that, I don't say anything at all. It was only typically the very last night of that tour. The gigs were great. We were all drinking, and they were wonderful, wonderful people. And I said to them, Dobber, the drummer, the main guy, I said, I wish we had this feeling at the beginning of the tour, and we'd have been best friends, you know, for life then, because the experiences you share on tour can be quite monumental. But because I'm stuck in my mind sometimes about what to say to people, I just think, you know what? Just don't say anything if you're fearful of putting your foot in it. So I don't, and then I'm missing opportunities to talk to people like you. You know, we did a gig in Mexico, and I don't think I said a word to you. You know, I shouldn't be like that, but it is who I am. I can't help it.
Yeah, you shouldn't help it. And I absolutely know what you're talking about there. Like I think I'm quite similar. I can be a very social person, especially like after a few drinks, obviously. But normally I'm also like pretty reserved, and you know, I mean I say hi and hello, but usually I don't even know what I should say because I don't see a reason to say anything to someone I don't know. Like, I mean, literally seeing that there is no reason. You know, I don't have a message for that person. So why talking to that person? You know,
Right.
so like I think I know the feeling. But
yeah, when we did that cruise ship, because obviously it's full of bands. There must be 100 bands on board, and therefore thousands of musicians. And our previous guitar player, Hamish does know everybody. And Hamish spent the whole cruise ship talking with every single person in every band. He couldn't walk more than 5 meters without bumping into someone else who he could talk to. Whereas I didn't know anybody on the whole ship. So I just waltzed around, you know, in my own little world. And against, you know, people, I may have walked past, I don't know, Nightwish or someone like that who's a big band, but I don't know them. So I probably walked past them and they might be thinking, he's very arrogant for not saying hello to us. You know, probably not, but you know what I mean. I don't know who they are, so I'm not walking around going, "Hey, oh hey man, yeah, hey, how's it going?" Hey. I just walk eyes forward with my own little world. But at least that way, I'm not saying bad things, so it's not so bad.
Yes, very good. Yeah. But yeah, all right. I think we should slowly go towards the end in order to not make these talks too long. Like we keep it like around an hour.
Okay.
So yeah, to just sum up, is there anything left you would like to share? Any thoughts on the situation we are in? Anything you want to say to your fans or any outlook?
Well, it's a shame we couldn't play live, but again, it's the same. It's the same with everybody. You know, people were really looking forward to it this year because it was 5 years since our previous album and 3 years since our previous gig. A lot of people were really looking forward to 2020, and unfortunately, that has been taken away from us. So it's probably going to be another year, and that's a shame, but it is what it is. You know, we don't dwell on it. We just move on and try and look for some positives on the horizon. You know, I hope people like the album and the 3 videos we did. There's more music coming in the EP later on.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, and just, you know, now that we moved from Peaceful Records to Nuclear Blast Records because Peaceful did everything they could for us, and they're wonderful, wonderful people. But we felt there was something more. I can't put my finger on it. We felt we were missing something. So when our contract came to an end with Peaceful, we were hoping Nuclear Blast would be interested because they're quite a big label. Thankfully, they were, and we moved to Nuclear Blast. And we're hoping that this movement will help us get to more countries we've never been to before. For some reason, we've never been to Australia or Japan. We've only been to South America once, and we've hardly been to the US. And I don't know why that is, but I'm hoping now that we're on Nuclear Blast, we might be able to get together with another like-minded band on the same label and maybe tour as a package. And this will help us get to places like Australia and Chile and, you know, Peru and these sort of places. These guys have wanted us for years and we've never showed up, and I really cannot understand why, but the move to Nuclear Blast, I'm hoping, will turn things around. So if you're watching from one of these locations, we will be coming.
Good. I think we all keep our fingers crossed. Cool. Definitely.
Should be good.
Yeah. All right. So, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking your time and for this wonderful conversation. That's actually quite, how do you say, uplifting, I would say. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much.
Time as well. Yeah, it's nice to have a chat with you finally, and we are going to bump into each other again at some point.
For sure.
Future. And I will talk a bit more than just nod this time.
Very good. Cool. All right. So then thank you very, very much. Be safe. Say hello to your family. And yeah, I wish you all the best.
Cheers. Take care, Chrigel. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.